I mean, I
Uh,
do want it to be the kind of thing, like, I would love if I found out that like 14-year-olds were sneaking into this. You know, like,
for legal purposes, he would not love that, but
no,
you know,
that'd be
it
the
would,
worst. Don't
it
do
would be
that.
enjoyable to find that out. Yeah,
It'd be
exactly. Hey everyone, this is David Stark from Watch Your Past. Today I'm talking to Erik Bloomquist, the writer, director, producer, and star of She Came from the Woods. We're going to talk to him right now, and while you're watching, if you can like and subscribe to this channel, that would be fantastic. Helps me out a lot. Thank you. Awesome. So thanks so much for joining me. This is Erik Bloomquist, the writer, director, producer, and star of She Came from the Woods. It is a wonderful, funny, like 80s horror slasher comedy. It was a big surprise for me. I didn't know what to expect, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. And so thank you so much for joining me.
of course. Thank you.
Of course. So I always like to start my interviews by just like pricking my finger and yelling someone's name. Are you okay with that? Is that cool if we start
Great.
off?
Let's go. Yeah, let's
Okay.
go.
Anyone in particular? Or,
Oh, I don't know. Like Paul Rudd, Happy
or
Ant-Man.
oh man, if Paul Rudd came and like terrorized my house, I think I'd actually be okay with that. He seems like such
So
a nice guy.
charming.
Yeah, exactly. Excellent. So this movie started, I guess, as a short film in 2017 with the same name. So I guess what inspired that original short? Was there any kind of, or were you just messing around and wanted to kind of throw something out there?
Yeah, we made a short that's just kind of in the middle of the summer. Just we had a little bit of time, and we were inspired by this camp that we had access to. And so after that happened, my brother and I went back to our original script, and let's go back to the drawing board, and we adapted the script into a feature length film and made kind of a whole new thing. And we just thought that there was a lot of room for um, adventure there, and that is kind of how I look at it first and foremost, just like coming of age ad- with some kind of like 80s adventure stuff that just happens to be a horror movie with comedy as well. Like, I mean, that was kind of the approach. It just felt like action, horror, fun times just felt like a grown-up Goosebumps episode or something, and that was very attractive to us.
Exactly. Yeah, that actually makes perfect sense because when it starts, I was like, is this a horror movie? Because it
Yeah,
starts
yeah.
in a very like campy, fun way. I was like, maybe it's like a kid's horror. Is that a thing? But
I mean, I
uh,
do want it to be the kind of thing, like, I would love if I found out that like 14-year-olds were sneaking into this. You know, like,
for legal purposes, he would not love that. But
no,
it
that'd be the
would,
worst. Don't
it
do
would be
that.
enjoyable to find that out. Yeah,
It'd be,
exactly.
yeah,
Yeah. No, I mean definitely this feels like a film that kind of like skirts that line. And there are some, bloody moments, but I think, there's enough camp and fun in there that it'll hopefully appeal to people of all ages. So,
totally. Well, thank you.
and so it sounds like when you made the short film, you were just messing around. Did you have like a bigger story in mind when you made that, or were you just like, hey, let's just mess around and then you're like, okay, we can
No,
tweak this.
totally standalone. And then, the idea that we could go back to basics and just kind of uh, reconceive the story that we originally wrote just kind of came. And then we thought of this like central family piece of the whole thing with the three generational family that runs the summer camp.
Mhm.
And then everything kind of evolved from there.
Awesome. And so I noticed that in the like short film, the entire cast was different. Was there any idea to bring them back for the full length film, or was it just like so much time had passed and it was tough to kind of get back in contact with people, or was there any?
Everything was, I think everything was just kind of reconceived in terms of like relationships and who people were, and things like that. I love those guys, and I've worked with a lot of them since. So I mean, it's just kind of, we shot the feature like 4 or 5 years after the short, and just a lot of stuff had been reconceived from the ground up.
Yeah, for sure. It seemed like a lot of the characters in the film were maybe like more hardcore 80s stereotype characters than in the short film where it seemed just like a normal kind of group of summer camp friends. Although there were some strong personalities in that short as
Yeah,
well.
I think we got to dig into the design a lot more in the feature, and just have a little more time to and explore more dynamics and relationships, just because you have more than 11 minutes.
That would be quite a theater film if it was 11 minutes. I mean, hey, you get a lot of play, so you get a lot of showtime. So
I mean, host was 45, so who knows.
that's true. That's true. Um, and so did you use the short film to then get this movie made? Like, did you kind of throw that around along with like a longer script treatment? Like, how did you kind of go about after you had the script in place and your thoughts, like how did you go about then like making this movie, like actually kind of getting people to back it, or did you just do it yourself? Maybe you did that.
I mean, a lot of what we do is pretty bootstrapped, just in terms of uh, we have a really cool repertory company of cast and crew and actors, so that we kind of started there and building it out, and it was just something that I talked about. I mean, after I hadn't made a feature when that short film came out, and this was like the sixth feature we made. So we kind of like went and did some other stuff for a little bit, some smaller movies, and then kind of just found my way back to this and was able to have some folks in network that, and it just felt like the right time to actualize it. And it was good because then, you know, there had been that feature experience at that point. So, and a lot of them had been closer to like one location movies or close to, you know, one or two location movies, which made this, which is like a multi-location movie that's also kind of a one location movie, a good bet.
It's a movie magic one location movie.
Yeah, yeah.
And so when did you actually film this? Was this filmed during like COVID? Because it feels like a perfect movie to film during COVID because you're kind of outdoors, you're kind of in an isolated place, like one
Yeah,
location.
we shot it like in June 2021. So COVID was on a bit of a downswing and most of the movie was outside. So like obviously like very scary, as a lot of contemporaries will say, to shoot during that. It was like right after the vaccine came out, most of the movie was outside. So we did it and we did it very, it was tricky. We did it all very close to the, actually, I think we shot through the solstice. So we really were shooting all primarily overnights with like, you know, true night at 9 p.m., lunch at midnight, lunch. And like we started to hear birds at 4 a.m. So we had a very narrow window to every day to make it happen. Plus kids that had to wrap by midnight. And yeah, it was a lot.
So sounds like pretty much maybe the worst possible time to film this, but hey, it worked out pretty
But
well.
also like the greatest time because it was, I mean, I would say like it was, I would say it was warm the whole time, but it was like downpouring the first 4 days and we had to like rearrange the schedule and shoot inside. But I mean, it was great. We had this awesome camp location and some gators, golf carts. We would just be, it was really, really fun. Just figuring that out.
Now, when you were filming, did you actually like turn it into a camp? Like, did people stay in this summer camp during the filming, just kind of utilize everything, or did people go?
We considered it. We had some stuff like 15 minutes away. The trick there would have been we shot overnight, so people were going to bed at sunrise, and we needed some really good blackout shades so that we could do the next day.
That would be awesome though, because then you could just like start off the day at like 8 p.m. with a trumpet call.
Oh my God, I'm sure everyone would just love that after like 3 days of that. I think
It's method acting, right? That's how you do it.
for the first couple days, maybe. And
After maybe there would have been an actual death during the filming. So
yeah, exactly.
but yeah, no, I love this because I talked to a lot of people that were filming during the pandemic, and it was like you said, very scary at the start, but then kind of after you had your trust circle and kind of everyone got on board with all the protocols they had to do, it was actually seemed like it was really nice to get out and work and be around people because a lot of us didn't see anyone, didn't interact with
It was. I
people.
mean, it's a really beautiful time for us and memories, just because it was that transitional moment where we were all kind of coming out of our cocoon a little bit more. So there was a real excitement and camaraderie there. Like we shot the opening scene, which was the goodbye assembly at camp when it's still like you said, like not quite a horror movie yet. And that was just a really nice celebration because we'd done all of the horror stuff and the crazy stuff, and we were just kind of doing a little victory lap with a crowd full of really excited young kid camper extras, and all the cast that had been in the movie so far for the most part was there. So it was really lovely.
That sounds awesome. And you mentioned the cast. Like, how did you find them? It sounds like maybe you worked with a couple of them before, maybe at least been in the same circles. How did you find this very interesting, very kind of fun cast to work with?
It's a mix. It starts with some people that I have worked with before, that are just kind of key members of the repertory company at Mainframe Pictures, and then from there, uh, some friends brought into the fold, some other people that we've met along the way, some people that we were really interested in who we reached out to, and some good old auditions, and then we just kind of formed it from there.
Just cobbled it together.
Yeah.
Um, And so this film has a definite kind of like 80s horror feel. Did you like did any of had any of them seen 80s horror movies? Did you give them like a primer, like a care package of, hey, you're at home while you're quarantining, you should watch these and get up to speed? Like, was there anything that you were
I
able to
think
do?
I think I threw a couple some people's way, or we like had some images from movies, but we weren't exactly looking to, you know, lift too much. I like the idea that people kind of like understood like the tone of the world we were living in. But yeah, we watched a bunch of them before we started, partially to get ourselves in that headspace, but also to make sure that like we weren't doing certain things because we wanted this to kind of be its own uh adventure.
And where did you find this like psycho character, this Danny played by Erik Bloomquist? Where did you find him? Was he just someone that you worked
Yeah,
with before?
he was just always hiding. Yeah.
Just hung around the set long enough and eventually jumped in.
That's it.
Did you always kind of want to play someone in this, or was that just kind of a necessity of the time that you were filming and in the budget?
No, I mean, my roots are in acting, so I that's how I got into film, how I got into directing, writing, and then producing, kind of as a way of enabling uh, the work that we all do. So this was always something that I had in mind for myself. And you know, if you haven't seen the movie, you'll have some fun with that. But um, it was something that I always wanted to do, and I was very excited to do. So when the opportunity presented itself, it was really neat to be able to do that. And it's fun too because I can kind of like in some ways direct from within the scene, just in terms of like setting pace or tone or whatever. So it's when it serves the story, I think it's a cool thing to do.
Yeah, sure. And it's always kind of fun to pad those stats, right? You get to wear four hats in this film.
You know,
So yeah.
I find it energizing in a lot of ways more than like depleting or anything because I, I get to look at the same thing from multiple angles, which I think is good, so I don't grow numb. And I know, you know, it's not for everyone, and but I enjoy it. I think that it's a cool way to kind of look at the movie, and then if I'm starting to get exhausted at one thing, it's like, oh, I got to go act, and acting's the break, and then I can go watch some
I
other
start
or something.
when I start getting exhausted at one thing, I exhaust myself somewhere else. So you just keep that exhaustion train going.
Yes, sir.
Awesome. So I know we have limited time. I know you have a busy day, so I'd like to switch. I call it the lightning round. They're just lightweight questions about the film. I want to see how your experiences map to things that happen in the film. You can feel free not to answer any of them. I won't be offended, but I try to keep them very answerable.
Okay.
First question is, when was the last time you told a ghost story?
Probably at like a dinner like a month ago.
A horror dinner. I love it. Um, did you go to summer camp growing up?
Yes. Yeah. For a lot of years.
Did you work at a summer camp?
I was like a counselor in training at a summer camp. I never made the move to full counselor.
Okay, well, you got the experience. You got what you needed.
Sure.
When was the last time that you were in the woods?
Oh gosh. I went for a hike in LA last week.
Excellent. Is that technically the woods or?
Oh God, it was the mountains. Oh boy. Uh, I probably on a run a couple weeks ago then, like here in New England.
Perfect. When was the last time you gave blood?
Oh God. You know what? That reminds me. I've wanted to. I think the last time I actually gave blood was at a blood drive senior year of high school. So I will get on that. I still have my blood care card, my American Red Cross card.
Just make sure to check that nurse's name tag before you
I
give.
will. I will. No Agatha's.
No, like this. Have you ever played Bloody Mary?
I think so. Yeah, probably when I was like in middle school.
I think we all have. And then you always say like, "Oh, I definitely saw something," but no one ever does.
Yeah. That's the next
And
one.
what is your favorite 80s horror film?
I love Fright Night.
It's a good one.
Yeah.
I think mine's probably Friday the 13th. That's because it's the first horror movie I saw, and it fits with the summer camp theme, so it can
That's
be
awesome.
a good
Yeah.
answer here. And the last question is, when I was watching this film, I also just kind of coincidentally had been playing this video game called The Quarry, which has a similar feel and like a similar setting. Have you played that game before?
I have not, and I have heard this, and I think it's great, and I hope everybody who enjoys playing the Quarry will enjoy watching She Came from the Woods.
Exactly. No, they all feed together. It's weird. Like I was literally playing the game and I saw it's like this is very strange, but hey, I love it.
Yeah, great. Let's go cross promo.
So the film came out on February 10th, 2023. You're out promoting it, trying to get the word out. But I imagine you probably have some other projects in mind. So after people go and see this film, what can they look forward to next from you?
We have, in a total pivot, we have like a romantic teen musical comedy coming out, and then right after that, something a little bit more true to form with this movie. We have a murder mystery slasher movie called Founders Day, set on the 300th anniversary of the town in the midst of a heated mayoral election, and the body turns up, and things get really bad really fast. So that we'll probably have a festival premiere later this year, and yeah, that we're very excited about.
Both of those sound good. And how many people get killed in the romantic teen comedy musical?
Well, it is about a ghost who
Oh,
haunts a room, and a girl moves in and falls in love with him. So he is fully dead. So at least one.
excellent. Well, there we go. At least you keep the theme alive.
Yes, sir.
Awesome. So the film is She Came from the Woods. It came out on February 10th, 2023. It is a fun 80s style horror slasher comedy movie. I loved it. It was definitely a surprise for me. This is Erik Bloomquist, the writer, director, producer, and star of the film. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, man.
That was Erik Bloomquist talking about She Came from the Woods. It's already out. It came out on February 10th, 2023, so you can check it out in theaters. It is a fun comedy horror film that has a lot of like 80s throwbacks to it. It is a really fun film. I enjoyed it much more than I expected to, and maybe you will too. If you like this interview, please like and subscribe to this channel. It helps me out a lot. Make sure all my new content goes straight to you. Thank you.